Earlier last year, I came across an announcement that I really expected to blow up. But the news never gained a huge amount of traction. Instead, it came and went from the public eye in a matter of weeks. Which is surprising, since I imagined that many people would actually be intrigued about a biopic centered around the late Florence Griffith Joyner. Especially one that will see actress and comedian Tiffany Haddish playing the athlete. She will be headlining the film and also serve as a producer. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of who Florence Griffith Joyner, or Flo-Jo, was, then stay tuned. We will delve into that and more details surrounding the real-life figure and the actress set to portray her in the upcoming biopic. The movie was announced to be one of 3 projects that aim to celebrate the life and legacy of the late icon. While the film was announced in June last year, there has been little to no movement on the project in terms of assembling a creative team who will work on the planned film. There has yet to be an announcement for a director or a screenwriter. Now, that's not a cause for concern, since the film is still in development and doesn't even have a set release date. But it's definitely coming together, with the lead star already training for the role, which is arguably the hardest part for any actress looking to play an Olympic track and field star like Flo-Jo. She was an incredible runner who represented the United States at the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. There she competed and won 3 gold medals and 1 silver, taking the top prize in both the 100 and 200 meters race. Her performance in the event set the world record for both the 100 and 200 meters. Okay, let's take a look at the statistics briefly. She lowered the previous 100 mark from 10.76 seconds to 10.49 seconds, and the 200 record from 21.71 seconds to 21.34 seconds. Can you even imagine how fast that is? Because of that incredible feat, she's considered to be the fastest woman of all time. Beyond that moment, there's a lot to explore in Joyner's life, which I'm hoping the film would have enough time to delve into properly. So let's go back in time and see where this powerhouse of an athlete came from. On the 21st of December 1959, Joyner was born in Los Angeles, California, to Robert and Florence Griffith. Her birth name was Florence Dolores Griffith, a name she shared with her mother. To make it easier for everyone, especially in her household, she was nicknamed Dee. Now, she wasn't just the only child in her household. She also had 10 siblings, so 11 children altogether, in which she was the 7th child to be born into the family. At 4 years old, her mother divorced her father, which saw the family move from their home in the Mojave Desert to the Jordan Downs housing projects in Watts, California. Joyner didn't start running until age 7, which was initially for fun, but then it became one of her lifelong interests. Around that time, she joined the Sugar Ray Robinson Youth Foundation, a non-profit organization founded by the former pound-for-pound heavyweight boxer of the same name. It offered help to any sitter children in the Los Angeles area where it was based, allowing Joyner the opportunity to try out a number of sports, such as basketball, volleyball, football, and many others, before realizing that she had the most potential in track and field. Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. At age 14, she won the Jesse Owens National Youth Games. Even more notable is her becoming the frontrunner 2 years in a row. After dropping out of college to look after her family, Joyner returned to education in 1980, where she attended the University of California in Los Angeles, UCLA. There she had the opportunity to be part of a team coached by Bob Crease, who trained her and her teammates to a level which allowed Joyner to develop her talent as a runner. It eventually led her to becoming a representative for her country in the World Championships and also the Olympic Games. The latter event is where she made a mark on the world, becoming a legend but also someone whose achievements has gained controversy. But more on that later. I believe these formative years in her life shouldn't be overlooked or glossed over in a couple of scenes. Hopefully we'll get enough time dedicated to her childhood, showing us her rise as an athlete and her family life, which was the primary reason for shaping her into the woman she would later become. Okay, now that I've outlined Joyner's background, let's discuss the actress set to play her in the upcoming biopic. Most people will be familiar with the talent from her breakout role in Guilt Trip. The 2017 comedy film wasn't her first on-screen role, but it definitely became one of the best performances of her career. Now, who could forget the grapefruit scene? It's one of the most outrageous moments in a movie that sells why Haddish is one of the best comedians in the business today. In an ensemble of talent that included the likes of Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, and Jada Pinkett Smith, Haddish was able to steal the show every time she appeared on screen. After appearing in the film, her career saw a boost that led to many more projects, where the actress was the lead as opposed to playing a small part or being in a supporting role. There's a number of films which have become some of my favorite to revisit. because she just elevates the material with her acting. Not only that, but she has this amazing ability to bounce off of any actor or actress playing a co-star. Just look at Nobody's Home, where she plays Tika Sumter's sister, or Like a Boss with Rose Byrne, where she plays the longtime friend and business partner to Brian's character. She just has amazing chemistry with anyone and everyone. It's why, as a fan of the actress, I've always looked forward to seeing whatever she does next. But make no mistake, it doesn't mean I'm biased towards anything that Haddish is a part of. Outside of her acting work, she makes for an amazing host on daytime TV. She is currently the host and face of Kids Saying the Darnest Things, a revival of the popular Bill Cosby show. Okay, now circling back to her role as Flo-Jo. Now I'm not gonna lie, personally I was taken by surprise that they chose Tiffany Haddish for such a major role, and one that would be completely out of her comfort zone. Usually Haddish has always stuck to roles that play towards her strength as a comedian, and allow her the freedom to ad-lib or improvise her scenes. This is a role that would require her to be far less outlandish and over the top, and a lot more nuanced and grounded with her performance. Joyner was known for being soft-spoken and a very composed individual, despite her overall image which made her stand out on and off the track. She was very much a trailblazer when it came to her fashion choices as an athlete. Seeing her run on the track was part of the spectacle. The other was a whole look for the occasion. She would do her hair, makeup and nails. You couldn't help noticing her manicure, which was unusual for a track and field star. It was 6 inches long. Looking at her nails, you'd assume they were impractical for a track and field athlete. But this was Flo-Jo. She made it work. She would proudly wear her long acrylic nails, which was sometimes her own natural nails grown out. And it never stopped her from performing in any shape or form. Joyner wasn't afraid to stand out and change the conversation in regards to how women were seen in sports. It wasn't about bringing publicity onto herself, but more about expressing her femininity and just being herself first and foremost. In a 1992 interview with journalist Anne Luguri, she explained her efforts to be glammed up on the track. She said, "I don't believe you have to look masculine in order to compete in a sport they consider rough." I love that response. It shows that Joyner was above the traditional norms, and through her fashion choices, she was able to change the way things were perceived. As dedicated as she was to dominating her competition on the track, by giving everything she had and more, Joyner took pride in her appearance, and being a former beautician / hair and nail technician, she always made sure to look her best. That meant prioritizing her manicure and also outfits. She would alter her spandex track uniform by coming up with better designs than the standard look most female athletes would wear. It led to the birth of the one-legger, a style that Joyner came up with by accident. Originally it was a two-legger, which she was viewing in a mirror. On a whim, she took a pair of scissors and cut off one of the legs. Then taking a pair of her briefs, she put it on top of one leg. Yeah, so that was it. It was as simple as that. The one-leg spandex bodysuit became a signature look. It's a style that has since been adopted by female athletes and even celebrities. In case you missed it, Serena Williams paid tribute to the icon by wearing her own take on the outfit at last year's Australian Open. But she wasn't the only one paying tribute. Closely following in her mother's footsteps, Olympia showed off a replica of the same outfit. Isn't she just adorable? American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson has also been compared to Joyner. While her glammed up look is distinctively her own, her manicure / nails are comparable to her predecessor. When interviewed, Richardson has cited her appreciation for Joyner and the style she was able to bring throughout her career. Finally, we have one more notable celebrity who would definitely take the top prize for the Flo-Jo Homage, if this was a competition. In 2018, Beyoncé went all out by dressing up as the athlete for Halloween. Not only did she accurately recreate Joyner's look, she also embodied her as seen in these images. Seriously, Beyoncé wasn't playing around. It's great to see these nods to Joyner from the current generation of stars, who would have been children during the Joyner boom, or in some cases, not even born yet. It shows that her influence is still going strong, even after more than 2 decades since her death. Haddish is no stranger to dressing up and making an impression with outfits. There are many times where she brought her A-game on the red carpet, and various events she was invited to attend. Since the actress is set to play Flo-Jo, she has already had the opportunity to try on some of her outfits to see how they look on her. It's going to be amazing seeing Haddish transform herself into Flo-Jo, and some of the fashion choices they'll recreate for the star that will mirror her style through the years, mainly the early 80s to the late 90s. The costume design will be an instrumental part in creating the immersion, along with Haddish's performance, which will require a ton of work on her part. She won't just be trying to mimic Joyner's speech patterns and mannerisms. The star will also have to transform herself physically. To play the athlete, Haddish will have to get in the best shape possible. Already the actress is hard at work learning the ins and outs of track and field. She's training hard to get in shape and get the right figure to be able to match Joyner's physique. Looking at the athlete, she always maintained a ripped body. Joyner would undergo rigorous training which pushed her body to its limit. Haddish doesn't have to go as far as Joyner did to remain in shape, but I love that she's enthusiastic about the journey. To quote her, she said, "This is going to be huge. My legs are going to be amazing." She will have her work cut out for her to get those runner's legs. But so far, it seems the results of her training are paying off in spades. Looking at her in the past year, there's definitely a significant change in the way Haddish looks physically. She's more toned than ever before, with a slimmer figure and a new energy to her that you can't help but admiring. You can see the confidence she has showing off her figure. Working out for this role has been a transformative experience for the actress. She was able to shed 50 pounds, which has helped to make her feel better mentally and physically. To help her with the whole process, she has perhaps the best person in her corner training her, like he would his late wife. Al Joyner, the coach and husband of Florence Griffin Joyner, is personally involved in getting Haddish ready for the role. He will also serve as a consultant on the project and a producer. Okay, let me give you some background to these two lovebirds. Al, who was also a track and field athlete, met his future wife at the 1980 Olympic trials, where it was love at first sight. The two started dating that same year, and 7 years later in 1987, they tied the knot. Joyner, who is previously known as Florence Griffith, took her husband's name, becoming Florence Griffith Joyner, which led her to be a nickname, Flo-Jo. So there you have it, in case anyone was wondering how the Flo-Jo nickname came about. Their relationship was one that was full of love, respect, and support for each other's pursuits. No matter how big his wife's reputation became, following her success at the 1988 Olympics, he was always in her corner cheering her on. Marrying into the Joyner family meant that she was now the sister-in-law of Jackie Joyner Kersee, Al's sister and another star athlete, who was famous for breaking records in both heptathlon and the long jump. There are many achievements that the Joyner family shared together, but one of the best by far was the birth of their daughter, Mary Ruth Joyner. In 1990, the couple welcomed their first child together. While she didn't share the same talent for running as her parents, she was very passionate about dancing and singing. Funny enough, singing was the one thing that Flo-Jo wasn't able to do, despite excelling in a number of areas outside of sports. What she lacked, she believed the daughter would be able to do. And surely enough, she was right. Her daughter could sing. Sadly, her mother wasn't around to see her grow up past the age of 7. But the time that she did have with her was never wasted. She was very much invested in nurturing her daughter's talents. Al has continued to support their daughter the same way he would for his wife. Okay, I think I've covered as much as I can about Al Joyner to give you an idea as to why his presence on this project is important. Having Joyner's widower involved in this project gives me more confidence that this has the chance to be a great film. He wouldn't be involved, period, if he felt that the filmmakers weren't aiming to do his wife's story justice. More so than even the main lead, he would want to uphold his wife's legacy and ensure that whatever the studio and filmmakers are working on, it doesn't feel to be anything that she wouldn't approve herself. I feel like someone as close as her husband, who was with her until her untimely passing, would be able to give us an insight into many areas of her life that she would have shared her experience with him. They were married for 11 years and knew each other for 18 years. Other than her family, he's the best person that can shed some light in areas that the filmmakers writing the script would have to devise, based on guesswork or information that was revealed by other parties. Depending on the scope of this movie and what they are aiming to cover that best represents who Flo-Jo was as a person, we could go past the biggest achievement in sports to her later years. In 1988, there was a shift in her overall life. She decided to let go of her longtime coach, Bob Kersee, deciding it was better for her to have someone who can offer her more personal attention. That decision was also influenced by her lack of sponsorship and endorsement opportunities under his management. I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision to make, considering he had coached her since college. Not to mention he was family, since his sister-in-law Jackie had married the coach 2 years prior. But this was business. She had to do what was best for her going forward. Joyner didn't have to go outside of her family to find a coach she could rely on. Her husband Al took over the role and prepared her for the 1988 Summer Olympics. Al, who became an Olympic gold medalist in 1984 in the triple jump, was already coaching his wife part-time before it became a full-time commitment in getting his wife ready for the competition. After Joyner had qualified for the Olympics and won a silver medal in 1984, she was more committed than ever before to getting the top prize. She was going for gold. It was a winning year at the 1988 Summer Olympics, which I touched on earlier, and one that saw her decide to leave behind the sport which she loved. In 1989, she announced her retirement from racing. Joyner was 30 years old, which is usually the age most professional runners would retire. Although there are some exceptions of athletes still active in the sport past their prime. For her, she had accomplished what she wanted to by winning in the Olympics and wanted to pursue other career opportunities. Retiring from one of her passions allowed her to focus on another. She decided to focus on building a business around her love for clothing. The surge in her popularity had opened up the doors to a number of lucrative deals, which saw Joyner take on sponsorships and collaborations like never before, especially for a woman of color. Being a businesswoman was a calling, as she was able to make smart business decisions, which helped to grow her brand's reach. Surprisingly, she'd found success overseas in Japan, where she struck a deal with 2 major companies. The country had embraced the Flo-Jo brand. She would frequently commute from the States to Japan, where she had her own boutique. While people were very much passionate about her success as an athlete, there were many who suspected her of cheating her way to her biggest achievement. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Joyner was the use of performance-enhancing drugs or doping to improve her speed. But no matter what was said about her in the media, Joyner never lashed out at the parties accusing her of cheating. She was always composed and didn't shy away from addressing the topic when it was brought up in interviews with the media. Even after all these years following her death, it has yet to be proven that she was aided by drugs. But that hasn't stopped drug experts and even her fellow sprinters from stating that they are certain she was using drugs to improve her performance. Even people who she had previously trained with or competed against have come forward claiming that they have inside knowledge of her doping. The accusations followed mainly for 2 reasons. The first reason is, she was never an outstanding runner, and the leap in terms of her run times and overall speed were considered impossible for a human to achieve without some form of drugs. Also, steroids can significantly improve a female runner's performance, more so than a male. It didn't help that her appearance had changed in a matter of months. She went from having a feminine figure to a more male physique. Her muscle gain was part of a new training method, which was employed after she became inspired by a notable male sprinter who had an incredible start in the 1987 World Championships. Joyner explained it the best when she said, "To run like a man, you have to train like a man." The other reason is that during 1988, the same year that Joyner became a record holder, another athlete competing in the men's block was discovered to be doping. The very same runner who was responsible for inspiring the star. Ben Johnson, a Canadian sprinter who had set an outstanding record in the men's 100-meter race, which earned him a gold medal, was disqualified 24 hours later after testing positive for drugs. It's one of the most infamous scandals in sporting history, so the grounds to suspect Joyner were there based on those 2 reasons. Still, like I mentioned earlier, there is no evidence to support the claim that she was under the influence of drugs. She was tested 11 times, and the results were negative across the board. Regardless of the evidence that proves she wasn't on drugs, naysayers have continued to hold out and discredit her name. They are the same people who believe that her untimely death was due to extensive drug use over the years, even with the autopsy stating otherwise. The reality is that Joyner, who was dubbed the world's fastest woman, a mother, a wife, and an icon, died prematurely from an epileptic seizure. On September the 21st, 1998, she passed away in her sleep. Joyner was at her home in the Canyon Crest neighborhood of Mission Village, California. She was laid to rest on September the 26th, 1998, following a service at Saddleback Valley Community Church in Lake Forest, south of Los Angeles in California. From my summary of her through the years, there's so much to Flo-Jo's life on and off the track that lends itself to being adapted into a film. There has been countless sports films centered around athletes who have since retired or passed on. Given that it's been 24 years since her passing, I feel like more than enough time has gone by to do a film that would bring her back to the public's consciousness. Moving the focus back to Tiffany Haddish, I feel like her casting will draw equal amounts of praise and criticism from the public. It's going to be an uphill battle for the star, not just to prepare her for the role, but to prove that she was the right choice for this project. There will definitely be those who think that Haddish, being a comedian, will be out of her depth for taking on a role that requires her to play against type. She will be breaking away from the comedy that she's widely known for and venture into a whole new level of acting. Already she has started to sink her teeth into more serious roles, following her last movie. She starred alongside Oscar Isaac in The Card Counter, a crime drama film where she played an acquaintance and love interest to Isaac's lead character. For anyone doubtful that she doesn't have the range as an actress, I highly recommend the movie to see a different side to acting. She is definitely not as limited as a lot of people assume, because they've only had exposure to her earlier work. There is definitely a lot of potential for Haddish as a dramatic actor, which will only get better and better as she takes on tougher roles. Playing Flo-Jo is more than just testing the waters to see if she can do more drama. She is personally invested in bringing her story to audiences by being the woman she admires and greatly respects. While there are people aiding in this production who have a personal connection to Flo-Jo or some interest in her as a person, Haddish as the star and producer will be the key figure who has the most on her shoulders in terms of realizing this story. She will be largely responsible for how good or bad this turns out. The pressure on her to deliver on something her name is attached to has never been this high. Being a black woman and someone who has struggled in life, prior to her success as a comedian and actress, Haddish knows what it's like to come from nothing. Learning about her past will surprise you and really change the way you think about the star. Just like Flo-Jo, who grew up in a single-parent household and was also responsible for looking after her mother and siblings, she also had to do the same for her family. So there are some parallels between the two women, even with the vast amount of differences between them and the journey towards fulfilling their dreams. Through countless hardships and setbacks, she's managed to make a name for herself in an industry that's already hard for a woman of color. In 2018, she became the first black female comic to host the long-running American late-night sketch and variety show, Saturday Night Live, which she won a Primetime Emmy Award for her appearance on the show. There's also a recent Grammy Awards win for Best Comedy Album with Black Mitzvah. The album's title is a reference to Haddish's Jewish heritage. It made her the second black woman in history to win the award, after Whoopi Goldberg. Maybe next she can be nominated for an Oscar for playing Flo-Jo? Only time will tell. Everyone will have an actress or personal choice in mind for who would be better at playing Flo-Jo, but I believe they have already outdone themselves by selecting Haddish for the role. For years, comedians have crossed over into dramatic acting and excelled at it, almost better than their original niche. There are a number of examples I can give that spring to mind. Who could forget Whoopi Goldberg in 1985's The Color Purple, or the late Robin Williams in 1997's Good Will Hunting? There's also Monique in 2009's Precious, and Jim Carrey in 2004's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Even Kevin Hart, who is a longtime friend of Haddish, has made the jump into dramatic acting, with amazing results. He did a really great job in last year's Fatherhood. So I wouldn't overlook Haddish and what she'll be able to bring to this beloved role, once we actually see her acting. Another gripe that fans will bring up is the actress's age. She's currently 42 years old, which some might consider too old to play Joyner in her prime. There's a period of time that the movie will likely explore, which will follow Joyner from her 20s to age 29. I'm guessing that would be the cutting off point, if they're just covering her life until the 1988 Olympics. Even in her 40s, Haddish looks far younger than her actual age. She could easily get away with playing someone in her 30s. While it might be a stretch having her play Flo-Jo in her 20s, I think we could all look past it, as long as she's able to play her role well. It wouldn't be the first or the last time that an actor has to pretend to be a character whose age is different to their real-life age. The biggest gripe that people will have is the fact that Haddish looks nothing like Joyner. Even with her training to get in shape for the part, the physical resemblance between the two women are noticeably different. Joyner has a much lighter skin complexion, to Haddish whose skin tone is much darker. It's pretty common for biopics to have actors who aren't an exact match for the real-life figures they're hired to play. There has been countless examples of films where they've casted actors based on their talent, rather than how much they can double as a personality. It's always been about getting someone who can bring to life an individual with their acting ability first and foremost. Once someone can embody that person by conveying their speech, mannerisms, and unique quirks, they are more than equipped to tackle any role. I believe Haddish will be able to do just that and convince us that she is Flo-Jo. Other than training her body, she will be going through video footage and any other materials available to help her get in character. That, along with the right makeup, hairstyle and costume, will get her looking almost identical to the real-life Flo-Jo. I can't wait to see how this all comes together. Right now it's fairly early to expect a first look at Haddish in character, since they haven't officially kicked off production. While I'm eager to see this film, I'm happy to wait as long as necessary for them to do this movie properly. We have been long overdue a Flo-Jo movie, and it's great that one is finally in works. I pray that everything goes smoothly, especially given the pandemic is still a major hurdle when it comes to making movies nowadays. Hopefully there won't be any huge snags that push back production and stop them from getting this film up and running soon. As someone who wasn't born until years after Flo-Jo made it big as an athlete, it's been great learning about her through my research into her life. I hope this video is able to help people understand what she stood for and why it's important for her story to be adapted. So let's give this film our support and its lead star a shot at showing us what she can bring to such a prolific personality. As per usual, I'll be keeping an eye on any news related to this production and we'll cover any major news story that the trades break. So stay tuned for more Flo-Jo news right here on the channel, and a host of other TV and movie related news. So what are your thoughts on Tiffany Haddish playing Flo-Jo and this film being made? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways folks, that's all for now. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to subscribe, like and comment below. And hey, maybe this wasn't your cup of tea, and that's okay. Just remember to take care and stay safe.